All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. All right. We are gonna start with just the adoption of the agenda. So we have the agenda in front of you. If there's no suggestions or changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I will motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, motion by Eric, second by Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right, motion carries. All right, we have two sets of minutes. We'll start with the April 12th minutes, which was our last normal meeting.
I'll move to approve the April 12th minutes.
Second.
All right, motion by Thomas, seconded by Jake. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right, motion carries. And then the May 3rd for the special meeting to confirm the elections.
I'll go ahead and move to approve that.
All right, motion by Eric,
Second.
second by Greg. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now to the fun stuff. We have students here today. This is exciting. All right, so we'll start with our FBLA national qualifiers. All right, FBLA crew.
So that's all.
Is that all of you?
Oh, he just did it.
Oh, he's deck. He has deck on his shirt. All right, you gotta stand up. You gotta tell us a little bit about.
Alright, so
Gotta introduce yourselves.
my name's David Liu. I've been in DECA and FBLA for all 4 years of my high school career. Last year for FBLA, I did accounting 1, so I got first in districts, second in state, and then I competed in nationals in Chicago. So that was all last year. I didn't place last year at nationals, but super fun experience, real good time in Chicago, but important is this year, so this year I competed in accounting 2, which is just more harder accounting because I'd already competed in accounting 1. So I got first in districts, first in state this year, and so I could have gone to nationals, but I decided not to this year because it is a lot of money to go there, and it kind of conflicted with a lot of events that I would rather go to, but it was really nice to just make it to nationals and be first in our state.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Now, I have a question. Are you going to major in accounting in college?
Yep.
And where are you going?
So I got accepted to CU Boulder into lead for accounting, so that's just what I'm gonna go into. I plan on becoming a CPA, but that's still to be decided in the future.
Good work.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna just move right on down the road, or we're gonna skip around.
So my name is Landon. Yeah, and I'm Weston Pierce. We do a team event, marketing management.
Yeah.
So we competed in both FBLA and DECA. We've been together for 3 years. I think the first year we had a different team, but we've been together ever since. So this year for DECA we competed in marketing management, and we got first place at districts and ended up getting 6th place in state, qualifying us for nationals. Yeah, we also did compete in FBLA. We did qualify for state. We didn't qualify for nationals, but it was still, it's always a good experience, and I still think it's cool to qualify for state in both.
Yeah, we qualified for state last year in both as well, which was pretty fun. Yeah.
Congratulations, guys.
Okay, now I get my student quiz, but are both of you seniors?
Yeah, so
And what's your future plans?
I'm doing aerospace at CU Boulder.
Where, at CU Boulder, okay.
Then I'm going to do mechanical engineering at South Dakota Mines.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow. Very good.
Hey, we're good.
There you go. No, congratulations and just all of your guys' accomplishments, and hey, you only have a few more weeks left, so
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, guys.
All right, do we have anybody for community dialogue? Okay, all right. So do we have anybody here with Junior Bulldogs?
The Georgia Bulldog.
Sorry about missing last month, but it's the wrong date, wrong month. So cheer wrapped up in April. They finished the season by cheering at our wrestling tournament and had a pizza party. And then wrestling wrapped up with the tournament also. We had over 200 wrestlers, I think it was closer to 250, from all over Colorado. We brought in about $6,000 for our tournament, so it was a good turnout. And with that money, our wrestling director, Vince, has been talking with Ryan about possibly donating to replace the mats in the high school wrestling room. So that's kind of in the planning stage, so we've got that money earmarked for that. And then we are already planning summer camps. We will be having a volleyball camp June 20th from 9 to 12. Palms is tentatively scheduled for August 2nd and 3rd. Football is August 12th from 8 to 11. And baseball is to be decided. It's a busy time for Casey Miller, so we usually figure that out later. And also, we awarded 2 seniors a $500 scholarship that we will be handing out on Monday at the ceremony. And budget-wise, it's the end of the year, so we got quite a bit of money, so June will be spent down, and we'll kind of figure out where that's gonna go.
Excellent. Thank you for all your guys' hard work.
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, safety and security.
I want to
Welcome.
introduce you guys to Mr. Lovato. Yeah. So he doesn't have to present, but he can at least introduce himself.
Hi.
This is Dennis Lovato, our new Director of Operations. Today was his first day, so we got to have our first day in a board meeting.
I feel like you should report then. First way, you might as well just round it out.
Yeah.
No, so again, Dennis Lovato, very honored, privileged to be a part of University, this community. I know being here, as you may have seen a video that somebody helped me create, being here for 28 years, serving this community in a different capacity in law enforcement, University has always had a great reputation, and I think the students and the staff speak for themselves throughout this community and other places. So just a good way to, I guess, a new season for me to come from law enforcement, to be a part of the staff, and I want to serve this community, students, staff, everybody as best I can with the staff already in place. And I'll be a shout out to Ed Clark, what an amazing guy to help establish what he's here with you guys and whatnot. But we're going to carry on, and then carry on for him and carry on for others, right? So any questions? I'm going to open book mostly. Coming out of the investigations arena, I do have some kind of experience out there in the community in different ways, but I have some like an open books mostly. I have a lot of stories too. As cops typically do. So yeah.
Well, we just want to say thank you,
Yes.
both for all your past service in Greeley and also for taking care of our kids.
Yeah,
So thank you.
absolutely. My honor. I appreciate that. Yeah, very good.
Excellent. Yeah, welcome. I got a chance to look over your resume. Very, very impressive, and just we're really excited to have such an amazingly qualified person at our home, kind of keeping our kids safe. It's something that we definitely take serious, and we're glad that you were willing to step up and head up our team and everything. So we appreciate you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yep, I'll be around.
All right, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Also
Dennis.
welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. I caught back to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a habit.
There you go.
Plus I gotta watch, someone's gotta watch this guy, right?
Aye.
They give me a hard time.
All right, technology report. Come on down.
Well, as you know, it's always been tough to follow Ed. So it remains to be seen how something's
No pressure.
Just an update on a couple of things we got. So the Carousel digital signage software we have it. We're going through some training right now. I've been working with Rhonda and Denise to get them all trained up, and a few other key people we'll bring in board and start giving our digital signs some pizzazz. So we got that coming. We just received shipments the past couple of days, new laptops for our admin staff, admin faculty. So just kind of stay ahead of the curve with, trying to stay up to date with technology there. We also just received our first shipment of PCs to replace for the computers that drive the touch panels. So that'll be for the main building. We have 100 of those that we've been working on over the summer. Jeffrey and I have a pretty streamlined process as far as imaging, deploying, getting it, so we can get those up and running in rapid order. New firewall is in place, my new appliance. We've got some growing pains with that one. We experienced a little bit of that today. And I am well aware. Ordering an additional Chromebook card for middle school for their reading and math interventionists, so they can sit down with their groups. So they'll have technology. This summer, as far as projects go, we're doing some upgrades in the varsity gym. We're doing audio upgrades, we're doing video connectivity upgrades to make connecting to those panels a lot smoother and more cool, for lack of a better word. We're also doing some upgrades to the food court, upgrading the projector, and also connectivity there too. So it'll be super easy just to connect and present. And the latest, as Eric knows, I'm currently entertaining some more quotes to get sound treatments for our auditorium, just to get better sound in there and kind of bring that up as well.
Great.
So some of the things we're working on. Getting close to the end of the school year, Jeffrey and I are starting to work on procedures as far as how we're going to handle Chromebook check-in and go through each and every one of those this summer. So that's always a big job. That's what we currently have on our plate.
Dave, do we have a PC lab somewhere for students to be learning actual computers other than just Chromebooks?
Yep, right
Okay.
across the way.
Good.
We've
We're
got-
starting to see more of that as a problem with skills gap
Yep.
past here, so.
So we have our business lab that's right across the way. Joel
Okay.
Matthews is the one that drives that. And Jesse Kearns also has that same lab too. So that's where we teach the business apps. And those are Windows PCs there.
Great.
So they're leaving here with at least 2 skill sets, Google and Windows. We don't do anything with Apple.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? All right, as always, thanks for keeping us up and running.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to our staff reports. Start with Jennifer for the director's report.
So I wanted to thank everyone first who volunteered. We had the largest ever, but definitely the largest in a long time, group of candidates. Really appreciate everybody who was willing to volunteer for that. And I wanted to thank everybody who took time to look at those profiles and the videos. I know that took some time for a lot of them, and voted. So tonight, formally, we sent out something by email, but formally, Ryan was reelected to the board, and he'll be joined by Carol Riggs, who I think is here tonight. You're gonna give her again. Carol's here tonight, and Scott Williams. Scott is planning to come, but he got pulled into emergency surgery right before this started. So if he shows up later, we'll give him a wave. Jeremy Batts will be our student rep joining us, and Amanda Haas will be reelected and staying as our faculty representative. You got to meet Mr. Lovato. We're really excited to have him on board. He brings, made it sound like a little bit of experience. He brings a wealth of experience in community policing and investigations and an entire skill set and connections that we're excited to have and as he said, he's gonna do a great job carrying on and continuing to improve the awesome safety that we have at the university. It's always been a top priority and continues to be so. In terms of middle school and high school extracurricular things, middle school has finished all their seasons. Track had their league meet at Eaton. The boys finished third and the girls finished fourth. Brain Bowl also competed in their tournament, and both teams finished first in their grade level divisions and second overall. We've got one more band concert coming up at middle school. That'll be next Thursday at 6 o'clock in the auditorium. And then something new that the middle school works on this year was recognizing student athletes every week. They were looking for students who were elite in the classroom and in the activities they participated in. Those could come from teachers, from coaches, or from Gardner's athletic director. And so this school year, they recognized almost 100 student athletes and championship teams. So I think that was a neat tradition to start. And I know we're working with David to get those kids recorded and put out there so we could celebrate them as well. High school is right in the middle of their busy time with postseason. So we've got girls left today to go to Colorado Spring in tennis. We have we have 3 of ours and then 1 from Frontier representing us at state. They'll be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, hopefully. Track's finishing up. This is their last regular season. State meet coming up the 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's in Denver. The top 18 in each event qualify for the state meet. Boys currently have 18 people in 10 events, and girls currently have 18 people in 9 events. So we're doing really well and have a lot of people poised to go to state. Baseball was supposed to be done Friday, but we are having an impossible time trying to get the game scheduled. We were supposed to be home, we couldn't get an umpire, so we were going to travel there, couldn't get an umpire. So that's been really impactful from football all the way through, unfortunately. So we'll find a way somehow to get that finished up, and then they'll start the regional tournament on the 20th. Another cool thing that you might have seen in the update that our baseball players did for their game this past Friday, they got to pick a teacher that they wanted to give a jersey to, and the teacher wore the jerseys all week. And when you look at the update, there's a link there to pictures, but there were teachers who teared up, teachers who were super honored. That was a really neat thing they did, and then they invited those teachers to come to the game, and a lot of them were able to. So I thought that was a really neat thing that they did. We're going to be hosting 3A again for baseball, so they'll be here on the 26th and 27th. I'm really glad that we have the kind of facilities that we can invite state play here. This Friday, hopefully we've got it on your calendar to come to the carnival. Last year was my first time to see the carnival at like normal force, and it was packed. There are tons of people who come to that. So I hope that you'll have a chance to stop by. There'll be games, there'll be food, all kinds of fun things happening. There also, as part of that, the online basket auction is going, so hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at the basket to make some bids. That keeps going until Thursday, so that'll be done tomorrow at 7, and then the winners get to pick up those baskets at the carnival. I told you last time we were working on the band room, so unfortunately my dreams got crushed. We cannot put the band room where we hoped due to some issues with main lines going through there and easements around them. So unless we want to build it in the middle of the football field, that isn't going to work. But we came up with a plan B that we're working hard to take next steps on. We're looking at the space that used to be, if you've been around for a while, the auditorium stage at one point, the weight room at one point. It already has the ceiling height that we need for the cubic volume, which is our biggest issue with the current band room. So we're going to be able to combine, hopefully, the current chorus room and that space to make a band room that'll meet our needs. So by next month, probably I'll have some more updates on that. But we are, first plan didn't work so well, but we're working on a solid plan B. Which is how things always work around here. I hope some of you had a chance to come to the elementary concerts. Those were awesome. As a mom of a second grader who can't get my kid dressed in the morning, the fact that she gets them to remember all the words, all the signs, it is unbelievable to me. What a fantastic job. I'm really fortunate. I think we're lucky to have people like Mr. Bird, Mr. Barnett to do such great things with our kids. I also thought it was really neat how our specialist teachers all work together. I loved seeing them signing, and I loved seeing they displayed art. So Ms. Schuler gave them an opportunity to listen to the songs and then represent that visually, what they thought the song looked like. So that was really neat. I love how they collaborate together on those things. I thought made it even more special. A little more music, our high school wind symphony got to perform at the state concert band festival. That was the first time that we had a state level concert band in the university. So that's huge progress. Our band continues to become more and more awesome every year. Fourth grade, I don't know if Young Marytown was around when any of you were here. Yeah, it's new guys in there. So they got to go to Young Marytown and learn about business and government. We had a great mayor. I think they had a really fun time. We had an awesome prom. A lot of people who attended. That went off without a hitch. The kids had a really good time. We finished finally the least fun season of our lives, but we finished our testing season. Best part of testing though was the Waka Waka dancing. So we ended, if you didn't get to see the video, you should take a second to watch it because it's super cool. The kids ended with doing the Waka Waka from the screen, and they had all made little signs that they put in their pockets and pulled them out. The entire gym was full of signs for her. It was really neat. So we're been trying to keep this a secret, but it's not working. So we're going to end Friday's house event with everybody. The entire school has learned or remembered. I think some of them forgot. They've either learned or relearned Waka Waka, and we're going to do that on the field, the entire school together. And then that'll be the time also that you'll be able to see the mock-up for the sign for the gym dedication in the spring. And you guys are all welcome to come if you'd like. We'll be out in the field about 2:15, 2:30. Wanted to congratulate Ms. Ness. She did a great college and career week, and thanks to everybody who volunteered. There were a lot of people who came to talk about their careers and share them with their kids. I think it was great, a great way for them to start thinking about opportunities that are out there for them. And then last but not least, I just wanted to thank everybody who came out to show their support for Mr. Clark in the clap out. It was a really special moment, and we spent all day not sure if it was going to work and how it was going to work, and all the stars aligned, and he was able to come and participate. And then we were also able to dedicate the week to him. And there's a video of that if you haven't had a chance to see it. It was a really special day. So thanks to everybody who helped make that happen. And that's all I have. I was gonna say, there are a million things happening today, so if you don't have anything to do on a weeknight, come here, there's something happening.
Quick question, where will senior awards be? Will they be in the auditorium?
Auditorium? Yeah, that's Monday.
All right, any questions, comments? All right, Mr. Mazarana, you're up.
I will start with saying something that I said to Mr. Lovato as well. But I don't know how many of us have had to clap for 30 minutes and cheer on the person we're replacing. That was super impressive, and he did it with such grace and respect and humility. But I mean, I told him the next day, I said it was great. We're celebrating Ed, and we love Ed. And for him to sit on the back of there and just soak it in for Ed and get those kids going and talk to them and hand him notes, and that was pretty awesome. So I think that speaks volumes of who we hired, and I was really pleased to see that he was there and that just the person he was that day. That was awesome. So, we're glad to have you.
Appreciate it.
That was really cool. Elementary has something or two things every day. So honestly, if you have some time in your day and it matches up with one of these events, please come over and see these things. They're events that these kids will remember for the rest of their lives. Like they're doing Marketplace in second grade. So they have to create something that they think will sell, and they have to price it right, and they have to bring it to market, and they have to sell their pieces, and if they make some money, they can go buy some other things, right? So it leads right into what we saw today. And I'm sure you guys all know where these boys are going to school, but that was incredibly impressive. I mean, lead school is about the hardest business school to get into, and aerospace engineering is the hardest engineering to get into. So that was amazing. That was really cool to hear. But these are some of the things that lead into that. We have Wax Museum coming for 3rd grade. And if you've never seen the Wax Museum, they portray these characters that they've learned and researched all about. And you take a little coin and plop it in their thing, and they come to life, and they tell you all about themselves, and then they go back. It's really cool. We have District Battle of Books going on. Unofficially, I think both our 5th grade teams who represented us did pretty well. I think there's a tie out there for some places, but I won't spoil it. I'll let Rachel kind of announce that soon, but that was really neat. 3rd and 4th grade Battle of Books comes up. That is tomorrow for districts, so we wish them the best. Carnival coming up. Carnival is probably one of the greatest things we do for families. I know there was a charge early on. There's no charge now, and that's something that's just free to families to come and enjoy and meet each other and let your kids be kids and enjoy time with each other. So that's a great event. We have had a really great year of interviews. We talked to our staff a little bit this year and said, you know, COVID has been tough, and many of you have been teaching the same classroom for a while. Sometimes to get rejuvenated or to feel like you want to learn something new, you can take on a new grade, and many times teachers will kind of stay the same of their classes, but we had some real movement this year in teachers, and that's really neat to see. I myself taught 4th, 5th, 6th, and I tell my teachers all the time I loved all of them. I mean, I really enjoyed the teams of all of them, and I loved the curriculum of all of them, and that's really fun. So we've had a lot of movement, and we've had some really wonderful hires, so that's been nice to be a part of. Field days next week, so we've scheduled field days on weather weeks like this, and it's no fun. We're in, we're out, we're doing most of our activities in the gym and wherever we can find space, and it's lightning and it's hailing on us, and it's a bummer. Next week, looks like 72 every day, and so we can get our water events in and our popsicles in. And if you haven't seen a kindergartner run the 100-yard dash, you haven't. They get to about 20 yards and they're going great. About 50 yards, they're looking around like, when do we stop? And then you can see all the high schoolers at the end like, keep going, keep going. They're like, you're kidding me. Some are going and some are walking and some are waving, and it's pretty. Those are happening next week. Lots of field trips going on. Sometimes we have parents say, you know, why do you go to this field trip or that field trip? And my answer is always pretty much the same. There's a lot to be learned with a book, and there's a lot to be learned in our school. And there's a lot to be learned outside of our school. And we really think that it's super important to get out of our school and go see how it really works. Like, there's theory to everything. And then there's practice. Like, what does it actually look like when we do this, and how does it actually work? So that is really one of the things I love about this school. Get kids out to go see things. One of the things they had was STEM Day at the Rockies. So I was talking a little bit to 3rd grade who took their group, and they start out with all this weather balloon talk, and what are weather balloons, and how do they work, and what data do they give us, and what do we do with it? And so they taught them all this stuff, and then they put a bunch of them up in the air, and during the game, it just feeds back all this information to the kids, so they're seeing like where these go, and they're predicting where they're gonna land, and what is all this information is really cool, right? So you can see it as we're going to a Rockies game, or you can see it as we are going to learn all this really cool STEM science and weather science, and so great opportunity for our kids that they wouldn't get in our school. We're not going to make a weather balloon for them, but the Rockies will. So that's last couple weeks are full of all sorts of stuff. We have 5th grade clap out, so some of you have 5th graders here or have had 5th graders here. That's something we do to kind of, we don't do a graduation, but we do like a promotion and a transition, and so they get to walk out, and everyone from kindergarten through 4th grade claps them out of our building, and then they walk into their line of parents, and their parents greet them and clap them, and they symbolically head down towards the middle school, and they meet down by the auditorium. So that's a really cool event. Lots of things to come and see and do, and so we're full speed ahead, and I think I'm just looking at it, it's 19, 19, 19, 22, 22, 22, 23, 24, 24, 24, 24. So those are elementary events. So lots of stuff if you want to stop by. I know everybody's job is busy, and I know everybody's busy, but if you have a chance to come by and see these kids and they get to talk to you about things and explain things, it's life-changing, clearly, for accounting. Thank you.
Awesome. Any comments or questions? All right, well, thank you, sir, for all that you're doing for those kids. All right, Sue, you are up.
Hold on 1 second, Sue.
We're gonna turn up the volume, just a second.
Have that thing on.
Thought you got it?
Oh, we've got you on here.
Let's turn off wrong. Hang on,
Is
just.
there a list, like you have a schedule, like your calendar doesn't tell of all those events?
That's a great question.
We need to change the microphone.
It's easy not to be you.
Yeah, I think that's the same
Well,
thing.
so I don't know.
Right up here, buddy.
I know Q's
Just set 'em
tomorrow.
Giving you away.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds.
Try to go to that.
Nail day with mustaches?
Yeah.
Could be.
Gosh, my God.
It's too fun.
So funny.
I had to talk to a little guy about something. He's just doing this all the time. With his fake mustache. Okay, I'm just gonna stare this way. Talk to me. It's so great.
That's pretty good.
Oh, there
There.
you go.
How's that, Sue?
Nope.
No?
That's the
It
microphone,
sure
where's the
is.
speaker?
Bottom.
That looks right. Let's see, test that.
Try now, Sue.
Same.
No, it's coming
What
through my
brand is it?
computer is the issue.
Are we moving around?
No, it's just set to come through my computer into a smart board. But it's not giving me any other options. No, it's coming through my computer. Oh.
There's some
Let's
speakers
just
on
give them all a
that
try.
desk.
Keep going, Sue.
Try that, Sue.
High school plugins.
Definitely didn't work. Yeah, real text all that's showing up. Well. Sue, I'm gonna disconnect for a second and then I'll reconnect, okay? What's that either? Isn't that
You want to try
companion
these?
mode?
These guys? Jennifer,
What?
you want to try these? Does that have an audio port on it?
It does.
See, where's Dave when you need him?
I've never had trouble with it before. Try one more time, Sue.
We just go to her, we just don't pick it up.
Is the volume up on the board? It could be the board and the volume, it's just not turned up. There should be a volume up in the middle there.
Try one more time, Sue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah!
There we go.
Oh, this was so good. See the tops of your heads. There you go. Thank you. Okay, so April 30th financials for your packet. We're 10 months into the fiscal year, 83% of budget. Surplus is $831,663, split with $260,071 for mill levy items and $571,592 for those other general fund items. You'll see those splits on the revenue page there. We did get our capital construction again in April. We were caught up there for a while, but didn't get that in April, and then we still have about $52,000 to build District 6. We did bill February and March's expenses under estimate. Last month, we haven't done it yet, so we'll get that done. Nothing really else out of the ordinary revenue. On expenditures, salaries are a little higher. That's just because we have that bonus that we paid out in March. So I'm not concerned with that. We're also getting more of the classroom allocations spent. We kept the ordering off on May 2nd, so most of those POs are in the office, and we're still working on processing hundreds of POs. But we'll get through them. Hopefully we'll see that most of the expenses paid by the end of May. And everything else really is running about normal. Not too concerned with anything. Capital fund, we had a couple of expenditures for buildings and grounds and some furniture. And then we also had some unused ESSER 2 funding. And because ESSER 2 ends June 30th of this year, we went ahead and took about $90,000 that we had paid for directly out of our capital fund and took it out of ESSER 2. So in order to use all those funds fully, so we'll be able to get about $90,000 back into our capital fund, and that's those additional costs. It was mostly the change orders we did on the addition. So that's where that's coming from. So that's good news, very good news. And that's all I have.
Right, we will get to next year's budget as an action item, but does anybody have any questions for Sue regarding our current financials? All right, seeing none, we'll be back with you in a minute, Sue.
Yay!
All right, so items for action, we have our consent agenda, which has personnel and out-of-state field trips for baseball, varsity baseball speech and debate. Personnel items are underneath your personnel page after the budget. Right after the budget. Right after the budget. Anybody has any questions with those? Scott's here.
Do we have many open positions? We are, Mr. Ramon, did your last one get accepted?
We did, yeah.
So we've got FCCLA, I think is it. I think we're, we're interviewing, in the process of interviewing clinical school. But, yeah. I should have mentioned during my update, we hired and interviewed and hired an instructional technology coach last week. And we interviewed 7 or 8, I think we interviewed 8. And we only interviewed people who had either were internal candidates or had a connection to university. And man, I would have been happy to have hired at least 4 or 5 of them. It was a really impressive group of people, and they represented themselves extremely well. So I echo what Mr. Mongeron was saying. We've hired some really excellent people this round.
Right, and then what do we have regarding the out-of-state travel? What do we have as the teams?
Yeah, we've got varsity basketball, going to Black Hills for camp June 16th to 18th. We're going to Black Hills State for camp, and then speech and debate, that's for the national competition, their qualified tournament. So they are going to Phoenix on June 10th through the 17th.
Right. Any questions? All right, if there's no question, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent, or pass the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, motion by Thomas,
Second.
second by Jake Daggett. All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign? All right, consent agenda is approved. All right, we have a resolution that I will read when I get to it. So we just need to pass a resolution just to allow Mr. Lovato to be a armed security guard here on campus. So I will read through the resolution. Resolution of University Schools designation of an armed security guard as Director of Operations. Whereas University School here and after school is a member of the Colorado School Direct Self-Insurance Pool. And whereas the school carries its school entity liability policy and armed security guard endorsement through CSD SIP. And whereas CSD SIP has requested that in order to continue to receive its armed security guard endorsement, the school through its Board of Governors designate armed security guards. And whereas the school employed Dennis J. Lovato as the Director of Operations with his primary duty as a Security Director Officer beginning in May 2023. And whereas Mr. Lovato has been an officer, investigator, and sergeant for the Greeley Police Department for 27 years, he has been involved in many different types of special assignments that have identified criminal activity as all while promoting community policing principles. Mr. Lovato supervised the investigations unit by leading and managing detectives by providing guidance, support, and insight for serious and sensitive types of felony cases. Through his position at the Greeley Police Department, he has established relationships with other criminal justice agencies to help foster safe communities and bolster relationships with various community stakeholders. Whereas the Board of Governors has determined that Dennis J. Lovato meets all of the necessary qualifications to be designated as an armed security guard under his roles as the Director of Operations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Governors of University Schools hereby designates Dennis J. Lovato as an armed security guard as set forth by the standards of CSDSIP under his position as the Director of Operations for University Schools, adopted this 10th day of May 2023.
I'll motion to approve.
I will gladly second that.
All right, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
I would just like to point out again, we are for sure leading the way in this. There are a lot of District 6 has just decided that they're gonna hire armed security guards, and Ed and I met with Mr. Angus at, I think he's REJ1, to support them, they make the transition as well. A lot of people, they're having school resource officers is a great program, but they're limited in the time and opportunity that they have to be on campus. And so a lot of people are finding that having full-time armed guards on campus is a smart way to prevent violence. So this is definitely one of the ways that we are leading the way. And we've been in touch with a lot of people who are trying to duplicate our model.
All right, moving on to our final reading and vote for the amendments to the bylaws. So just as a recap, we have changed, within the bylaws, we have changed the members of the Board of Governors to directors. So you'll see that reflected throughout the bylaws. And then the update or the change is going to, the primary change is going to occur in Article 2, where we've added in the stipulations to board members, recognizing that we would only want 3 community members, non-parent community members represented on the board at any given time. So that will be in bylaws Article 2, 2.02 subsection A, items 1, 2, and 3. So I'll start by reading 1. 6 voting directors of the Board of Governors shall be non-employee parents, guardians, grandparents of children attending university schools. 2, 3 voting directors of the Board of Governors may be non-employee parents, guardians, grandparents, or community members who reside in Weld or Larimer counties. And 3, no board director as of January 31st, 2023 shall be removed from office due to the board makeup rules as stated in 2.02A1 and 2. These rules shall be implemented prospectively only. So, any questions or discussions on the amendments to the bylaws? All right, if there's none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will move to approve those.
Second.
Okay, motion by Eric, second by Jake Daggett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right, motion carries. All right, and on to the approval of the 2023-24 budget. We should have received those in an email from Sue a couple of weeks ago to review. I'll let Sue kind of give her highlights, and then if there's any questions, we can discuss those, and then hopefully get this approved. All right, Sue?
Okay. So we have, the green copy is your general fund budget, and the white is the notes that are associated with the line numbers on the right-hand column. The capital fund budget is on the lavender color, and the special revenue fund is on the pink. And we'll go through the green one first, because that's the longest. And I'm going to present this a little bit differently tonight. Instead of going through this line by line, I'm just going to highlight for you the changes that we've made since that was sent out to you on April 21st. And there's not many, so it should be a little bit better if you've had a chance to review it. We'll have to go through line by line. So on that green, there are 2 columns there. One that says gross proposed and one says net. The gross is just that. The net reduces the funding that we pay for the services that we purchase from District 6, those lines 9 through 13. And we do not post our books based on a reduction of revenue. We post the books based on that gross column. So I present it to you showing, so you can see what those expenses are that we buy from District 6. But really, our books are posted on that growth column. So that's the column that we'll ask you to do. So looking at the changes, the revenue section on page 1, line 6, that's the per pupil revenue state funding. That did increase at the final vote by the state legislature up to $10,620.60 per student. I budgeted a little lower on that because sometimes we have a mid-year rescission, and so that's just a little cushion that we have in case that does happen. So that's really the only change. It yielded us about $235,000 more in funding for the year, so that's good. The other things I wanted to point out, lines 18 and 19, which are the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 dollars. As I mentioned before, ESSER 2 funding ends in June of this year. ESSER 3 funding ends in June of next year. So the line 18 is gone because there's no funding for next year. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's, like I said, the only revenue item that really happened, that we changed since you guys received that in April. As far as expenditures go, we're looking obviously at salaries. That changes line 35, 37, and 38. With that additional PPR funding, we did add an additional 1% to the salary models. So it increased line 35 by about $87,000 and increased line 38 by about $21,500. So the total raise for staff will be 9.1%. That's 2.1 for a step and a 7% increase into the teacher's certified salary schedule. So on line 37, that increased slightly just because it goes up and down with the way the certified teacher's salary works. That was increased a little bit. And then we also added one stipend for marching band because we have so many more kids participating in that. I don't know if we'll fill it, but I have an idea that we probably will. That'll probably happen, So those are the only expenditure changes as well. So basically increase in funding and a little bit more into salaries. A couple more things that I wanted to point out. On page 2, line 61, there's a new line item. And currently, we've kind of been lumping all of the curriculum and software and trainings for those software into one item called curriculum. But because of the way we post the books for CDE chart accounts, we really should be taking the training piece and coding it a little bit differently. So I'm splitting that out so that we can identify that better in our audit. And then if you go back to page 1, line 46, this is that contingency line item, which I usually don't put in until January. But that line item is just that, is for any unforeseen, unexpected expenses that are not budgeted into this budget. And so I'm hoping that by doing it now, we won't have to do a budget revision in January. I kind of already looked at it a little bit. Might save us a little time again. Lastly, we did make a few changes to the administrative, professional, and technical salary schedule. Basically, we looked at District 6's APT schedule and made it a little more in line with what we are willing to pay under those as well. So those are the only changes that you'll see from what I sent out to you in April. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Does anyone know the District 6 salary increase for this year? I heard it was a lot, but
13%.
13.
We did so good last year.
Well, but last year they only did 4,
Yeah.
and we did 8.1, so over 2 years, we're still hanging in.
Can I say something about that too?
And they freeze theirs.
So theirs is not 13% across the board, it's
Right.
13% to the bottom.
Average, yeah.
But like teachers who've got a lot of experience will see much, much less than that. So it's, I got a copy of it and it's kind of phased in. I think they're trying to really target new teachers with that raise and not as much their current or experienced teachers.
Where do we end up to, about 4,000 off of beginning teachers?
Yes.
So that's a lot closer than we've gotten into there a long time.
Yeah.
They're also doing it by reducing positions and increasing class size. And we talked about that as a budget committee, and that was a good direction that we were interested in going. I think they felt like, I think we were really excited to try these, that we got that extra, a little over 200. It takes about 111 to get us a 1% increase. So we put that extra 1% in to get us to a 9.1, and I think the committee was really happy with that. And like I said, I think that compared to cutting class size and reducing position, but going to them. So I think they were, I don't speak on behalf, I think they were really happy with where we ended up.
Sue, I have a question about administrative salaries. Besides the superintendent's salary, what percentage did we give to the other administrators?
Everybody
Everybody across the board gets the same thing, the
Okay.
9.1.
That's what I was
So
wondering.
that includes our classified personnel, that's everybody across the board. Now, the only thing that is a little tricky about increasing the salaries is that I have to also look at what minimum wage is gonna be. And I think I've got all the wages factored in high enough in the salary model. So with minimum wage, it could be that we are going to have to pay some of our playground monitors a little more than the 9.1 just because
Yeah.
minimum wage is state law, so we have to do that. So I factored in a little bit for them just in case.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Sue mentioned earlier, she mentioned lots of things, that also then increases all of our extracurricular stipends as well.
And then Sue, I know that you mentioned the contingencies, but as far as like what they were, but why did we reduce our contingency budget by half?
So remember, when I put that in this year, there was that new GASB law that rule that went into effect about our multi-year software contracts. If you sign a contract, let's say tomorrow, and it's for 3 years, you have to expense off all 3 years in that current year. And so we're still trying to determine if we're gonna have some additional costs because of that. And so that's why I put it at 200,000, because I simply didn't know. So next year, we're gonna kind of have that in line, and we're gonna know what that is. By next year, we'll have that in our audit this next year. So I didn't think we needed that much in there.
Okay, thank you.
That's why.
Did we put any more money towards athletics for the increased cost for officials? That was supposed to be a big thing too.
Yes, we did.
We raised athletic fees. What we decided to do with the rest of the money, with the increase, was to reduce the cap. So the cap, the family cap was supposed to have been $600. We dropped that down to $450. Because we thought that was probably, if you had several sports or if you had several kids, that felt like, I think 600 a lot. So we brought it at $450. So that's where the rest of the increase that we got last minute was towards offsetting that.
And this is just side thing, but what do we consider if like our high school was full, what do we consider our max enrollment?
So those that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for high school, 600 is where we'd like to be.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where we want to be, as opposed to the error that we had last year.
Well, we are, but that's.
So we put us back down to 600.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out, because I know that like what we could have and what our actuals for high school is not, it's not like our elementary.
We had accommodated for withdrawals, and then we drew for every student who withdrew. So we're much better than we expected to be this year.
Okay.
What does the lottery pool look like?
I don't remember the exact number. I don't know, Sue, if you do. Elementary's still really strong. Middle school, we didn't have any trouble filling spots. In high school, I think we're not having any trouble filling spots, but I don't think our list is really long for 9th and 10th graders.
Yeah, and I usually have Billy Joe look at that for me after October count to see where the numbers are. I have to report that as part of our bond compliance, so I only ask her about that once a year. So it was October when I asked her last, and I'm not sure, I can't remember.
I think our number from the bond was about 1,500. I think it's the number you reported for our bond meeting.
Okay.
But that was a while ago.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting more competition. District 6 has been smart in building K-8 schools. And so that's made a big difference in people who want to join in middle. So we're definitely gonna have to think about that moving forward, because there are a lot of people who, if they started elementary and gone through, were willing to stay when before. That's where we got a ton of interest, was when parents were getting ready to send their kids to a district middle school, and that was concerning. So they were smart opening a lot of K-8 schools. That's definitely changed that dynamic a little bit.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions about the general fund budget? All right, Sue, do you want to move on to the capital fund?
Yep, we can do that. So basically, the revenue section, reflects the District 6 bond allocation that we got, the remaining dollars we haven't used. And as Jennifer reported, we're looking at some modifications to the band room to use some of those funds, and also the roof leak replacement on the main building. We're hoping to get that done over the summer, so we'll see how that goes. The interest income I increased because of that increase in percentage from the bank, so hopefully that'll come through. If you look at the box there at the bottom, you'll see how I have the estimated beginning restricted fund balance MLO at 3.8 million. That's about where I think we're going to end with dollars that we haven't used for MLO funding over the many years that we've had that. And so I just took that number and divided it by 4 and plugged that into curriculum, safety, security, technology, and transportation under the expenditure. So I don't know that we'll spend it, but again, we're just looking at allocations by the board. So in case we want to spend it or would like to spend it, it's there and it's included. And then also in that box, that second line, estimated beginning assigned fund balance project. That 980,000 is where I think we'll end with just general fund savings that we've moved over, and also our oil and gas royalties that we get from the building corporation. I'm asking them to transfer $130,000 in oil and gas over to the capital fund for use on the capital fund. So that's pretty much how that's played out there. Anybody have questions about that?
Any questions on our capital fund budget? All right, seeing none, you wanna
Okay.
finish us off?
So the pink one is our special revenues fund. This is our activities fund. This is where all the fundraising dollars are deposited. Basically, what this budget is asking you to do is the dollars that the groups have raised and have not spent is roughly that $265,000. We're anticipating about $45,000 in additional revenue. So what we're asking the board to do is to spend the $45,000 that comes in plus anything that's in surplus. And the reason we do that is because, for example, let's say there's a group that's planning a trip to Germany, and they've been fundraising since they were freshmen, and they're going in their senior year, and they've deposited $10,000 each year. Well, when the senior year rolls around, they may have to pull $40,000 out, not the $10,000 that they only collected that one year. And so what we're doing here is we're just saying that the groups that have money saved can spend everything that they've collected over the past years. And that's why we have a zero fund balance at the end of 24. It doesn't mean they're going to do that. It just means that they can't do that. So to be safe, we're just saying, let's just allocate the whole thing. That's pretty much how that's working. Any questions about that?
Any questions? All right, so last call for questions about any of our budgets, proposed budgets for 23-24. All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the 23-24 budget.
Do I read all of it? Yeah, Tina's got all
Oh,
the
sorry,
versions
go
you
for
gotta
it.
read.
Oh, that's right, you gotta read
So
them
there's
all.
4 of them, so all together or in between, do we vote?
We typically go through each one.
Okay.
So let's clarify one before she reads those. Remember that the board has to pre-approve any one-time additional payouts so that it can be included in the highest average salary with parent at calculation when they calculate that for people. So the language that's in the general fund budget is the language that para requires for us to include those dollars as a salary payout. And so those people benefit from that at the time of retirement. So, all right, Tina, take it away.
Great.
I move that we approve the proposed gross budget for the general fund presented to the board for the 2023-2024 school year, including a provision that if a one-time, non-performance-based payment is made to staff at the end of the fiscal year, which is dependent upon budgetary standpoint, the payment shall be considered includable salary as defined by Colorado Para and shall meet the following criteria. 1, the payment is in no way considered a bonus, but rather a payment in lieu of permanent salary increase. 2, the payment shall be a flat dollar amount or flat percentage to all employees in a particular class without regard to length of service. And 3, the payment in no way is designed to manipulate highest average salary.
Second by Thomas. All in favor of approving the gross budget as presented by Tina?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, budget passes. That one is.
Number 2. I move that we approve the capital spending budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as presented to the board.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Tina and seconded by Greg. All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Number 3, I move that we approve the special revenue fund budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as presented to the board.
Second.
Motion by Tina, second by Jake Pierce. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Last one, I move that any surplus in the general fund in excess of the 15% allowed by the law be transferred to the capital fund.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tina, seconded by Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right,
Good work to the budget team.
good job.
Thank you.
Yes, excellent work.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our reports. Mine, not a whole lot. Been just busy running around, seeing a lot of the great things that the school's been doing. It's been great being here at the school a lot with all the different activities and things going on. It's been fun reminiscing about how we've kind of moved out of the pandemic world in the last couple of years and things are starting to feel really normal. So it's good. And Scott joined us, so I'd like to welcome Scott too. This is our other newly elected board member as of July, so he will be joining us soon. So welcome.
Welcome. Welcome.
All right, we'll swing over to you, Miss Tina.
The only thing I had was Teacher Appreciation Week is this week, and I think we were going to talk about a gift card or something, and we didn't do it. So can we still do something, or do we want to do something? Is it too late for it?
We should still, we should be able to still allocate that out of our fund, right?
Yeah.
So we've done, I think $25 gift cards, the Amazon gift cards to teachers. Are we good with that?
I think so.
Okay. I just need a list of who needs them and I'll send them out.
Okay.
So Tina, what do you need from that? Is that, you're gonna do that electronically again?
I think that's the easiest way.
Yeah, so maybe Dave can work on getting you an email list
So if
or.
you can just give me a list of names, I just use the emails that are like in our Gmail. So it doesn't have to be too complicated.
Okay, and then last time I think we couldn't find a couple of people or there was something funky about that, so you can just let me know if you can't get everybody.
Okay.
And we probably need, yeah, I'll see what I can get you.
Okay,
Do we do all staff as well?
yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to approve spending that money or can we just spend it?
I think there's still some money available. I don't think.
Okay.
If you want, you can do it.
Yeah. It should be good. Yeah,
Good, that's all I have.
just spend it, yeah. Justin,
I don't have anything.
Craig,
I don't either at this time.
Not here either.
you are here, you are.
Oh, I am here, yeah,
Not-
that's true.
Nothing from joint use.
Actually, I do have from the joint use, yes. So we're gonna, look at getting some concrete work done on the south entrance door area down by the auditorium. Guess there's some area that needs to be redone there. It's about $2,200 on the tear out and re-pour this summer. Dave, as he mentioned earlier, is working on getting some quotes for some sound treatments there in the auditorium. And I think we, kind of rounded out the meeting and said, hey, we need to get together a bunch of information on a number of proposed projects, and then this fall kind of go through those budgetary wise. But items that are on the list are new paint for the auditorium, carpet, some new furniture for the foyer, the sound treatments, and we do know that that roof is getting to be 20 years old and will probably need replacement in the next few years. So over the summer, we're going to work on getting quotes for all of those and then prioritize them and see what we can do in the next year. So
I would go with Jared and have the same roofer that's doing this roof price tag on the same mobilization costs, because
Okay. That'd be great. Thank you.
I continue as a member as well, if who's doing this one.
Okay.
Nothing huge, just a busy time of year, a lot of fun, all the activities and different stuff. Can I just go on to the fundraising report? Since
Sure, absolutely.
nothing big to report except for we nailed down a date to actually sit down and carve out some time. So next, getting in next month, June 6th, we'll get together. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have at least some ideas to throw out to the group.
Excellent.
Jennifer sent out a training opportunity for us for,
Yes.
I think that's next Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 19th.
Absolutely.
It looked to me
Thanks for
like it
reminding
was just a Zoom call.
Yeah, I
Zoom
think it's
format.
a Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just a reminder, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. That's excellent.
I think it's the same one if you did it last year, I think it's the same one.
Okay.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, then I'll go. I'd have to give a shout out to the 6th grade team and Brooke Hollingshead for our amazing field trip that we did. It was so much fun. We went roller skating and they had a lesson on frequency, and it was just really neat to watch the kids struggle. They're not good at roller skating besides the kid. And they just continue to work really hard to push through and just continue to try and not give up. And it was nice to see them excited about, and they had so much fun. They said it was a blast. So, and I had
Good things.
and I didn't break anything, so we're all good.
All made it.
I didn't even fall, so I was very excited. All right.
I was gonna give a shout out to Coach Casey really about the jersey swap thing with the teachers. I thought that was really neat. I think that'd be cool if other coaches hop aboard that, 'cause I thought that was very cool. I saw it on social media a lot as well. Seemed pretty impactful. And then as far as capital planning, I haven't gotten anything done on it in the last month except for some smaller things that we've been talking about. So I do have updates for you there. I'll hopefully have them to you by the end of the week. So.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. If you got something for Tom,
Yes.
go for it.
Thomas, I do have a question. I know we've done some of the construction projects. Has that committee met with the building corporation to talk about what's being done? The building corporation owns this building, and we shouldn't be doing any construction without their approval because it affects the evaluation of the building. So have we been meeting with the building corp to tell them what we're doing and to get permission?
Yeah, so the last time we met with them was when we began this edition.
Okay.
To go over all those plans they had to sign. They did authorize at that time
Yes.
me to make those decisions rather than them and to sign for them. Because most of that group isn't very involved at this point, but we did meet with them then to go over the addition. And so when we just haven't, we keep coming into roadblocks every time we have an idea, so we just don't have a final idea yet, but when we do, I'll definitely take it to them.
Yeah, I know part of it, and under their bylaws, it does say that they have to approve any kind of construction project. And I just wondered if we'd been meeting with them. I didn't
We
know.
amended those bylaws.
Okay.
When we did the addition.
Well, gee, wouldn't it, those are bylaws have only been in effect, 22 years.
But we did meet, they were
Okay.
great to go over the additions.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you.
And I believe there's also a provision in there about designating somebody, as Jennifer said, and it just has to be on file. And I think that's part of what we can do with that designation, is she is then the person who makes those decisions, as long as that's on file, they can. And then Greg, also, they meet annually, and they'll meet again in June to approve the budget, to approve the
Right.
bond payments out, and then they'll also re-elect officers. So they do that in June.
Okay, good.
And I've been going to all of those very long meetings.
Yeah, we want to get Scott and Carol invited to that board training, knowing that that's a once a year item.
Definitely could, yeah.
That makes
Sure.
sense, I think, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. All right, any other comments for the evening? Items for future business? All right, our next meeting, normal, regular meeting will be on June 14th. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
Motion by Thomas, second by Jake, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion's adjourned, or meeting's adjourned, or whatever. All right, we will take a quick, couple minute break if anybody needs to get water or anything, and then we'll come back and we'll convene the work session. So, all right, we will go ahead and call the work session to order at, what time it is, 7:25. I almost pulled up my phone, but I'm like, I can read it real phone. 7:25, thank you.
You're one of the few people in this building.
So the purpose of the work session is just to touch base and check in with the director, one of the things that we had set as a priority going forward. But then also to have just a very open conversation. We really haven't had an opportunity to just have an honest conversation since the February meeting about this concerns that people have, and so now is the time to bring up any of those concerns and vent any of those concerns and have just an open dialogue with Jennifer. So yeah, with that, I will open the floor for anybody to share any concerns that they have or anything going on.
I'll start off and I'll say that when the review process went out, I think that there was a lot of us that didn't understand the full review process, and we kind of voiced that too in that second closed session. But I think as a board, we asked that we do more of these work sessions on a quarterly basis to have these smaller, catch-ups to see if there is something that maybe someone's not comfortable saying in front of the whole group that's here that might be easier for them to talk about, and then it's just a more hands-on approach with kind of doing a review throughout the year that doesn't come to a December Google Doc that goes out, that people don't understand that the question might read one way, but they interpret it a different way, as Corey did, the opposite way. So that's, I think that we came to a consensus that meeting on a work session or a private session quarterly would be very beneficial to the board.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the same thing. I completely, I'm guilty of that for sure. Misinterpretation of the review. And Tina was one that brought it up that a lot of what was in that review was from the previous year's goals, and that she felt like those were met and that you did really well within those, but then just that wasn't necessarily portrayed to us as that's what we're evaluating against. And then as you read the question and leave it up to yourself without all the context, wasn't fair. I think either of us to try to go through that. So I think that's the purpose of what Thomas says, is we need to be more on the same page of new members coming in, understanding what we are leaving them or handing off, and just so. I mean, I was guilty of that for sure. So.
My comment was gonna be very similar, that I don't know if we wanted to relive everything that was in the survey, but if our goal is to move forward and start setting expectations or things that we would like to see differently? Do we want to use this time to review where we want to go more so?
I mean, I think we could definitely use this for both those. I think the first priority, just having conversations with Jennifer, is there seemed to be a lot of things that weren't really conveyed to her, that they were conveyed within our own meeting. People think that there was dislikes or disgruntled individuals, board members, who had concerns with performance or concerns with something that she had done, but it never exited that session, and so she was sort of left not really knowing what any of those concerns were that were expressed in those meetings by board members. And so this was, number one, the opportunity just to clear the air and get those expressed so that she knew, you know, hey, we come out of this session and there's this tension and there's all these things, what's going on, and then that's never conveyed. It's not really fair to her. And so number one priority I would say for this meeting is that. And then hopefully getting through that, then yeah, absolutely kind of saying, where are we going from here? So I think both those things should be addressed.
Well, I have no concerns.
I think something that I met and spoke with Jennifer about, and also then with Ryan, was some of the feedback we did get during the renewal process that we haven't been able to share with you yet, and what's a good way to do that, because that was a little chaotic, and I guess we weren't prepared to take all of that in that time frame. Like, we didn't have a plan to communicate that well, and so Ryan and I spoke last week. I don't know what the perfect answer is, but try to organize that and share that with you, because it's not fair to have this feedback that you don't know of. So like, how do you know, directions on stuff when you don't have the input? So I think that's something we need to work through, and I don't have the answer today, but
And I would
definitely
say
welcome thoughts from everyone else on.
one of the other things that's probably different than in years past is we had a lot more feedback from parents when they knew, that the review process was taking place. And so, past years I haven't seen that. This year there was a lot more of that. And so I think that just kind of goes into the contentiousness of the last few years. And so again, with a number of new board members and a number of things where it's like, okay, we just don't have the continuity of, hey, we set out some things for you to work on, and goals and those kind of things. And then to have that, trying to figure out, well, okay, we're getting all this extra feedback from other parents, and that doesn't overlay with the questions that are in there. Well, no, because those were based on the goals and things that were set out before. But there's that feedback mechanism that ultimately does need to take place.
Right.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's,
As a former administrator, what I would say to my fellow board members is, when parents come to you with concerns, don't try to solve the problem. We're a team. It's all of us together. Tell a parent, go speak to Jennifer. Take it to Jennifer and go talk to her about your concerns. It's okay as a board member, we hear concerns, then even if we want to go make an appointment with Jennifer, it sounds like that's what's happened, that people have done that. Go directly to her, go speak to her. I always appreciated that as an administrator, when a board member came to me, or they sent a parent to me and said, go talk to the director, don't, and express your concerns. And the parent that says, oh my goodness, I'm afraid of retaliation, that doesn't happen. They've got to learn if they've got to be empowered to go speak for themselves. Absolutely. If they have a concern.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the one thing that I took away from one of our working sessions though was almost like rebranding your position, because I do know some of the feedback that we heard was, Mr. M or Mr. Casey was very involved, but I didn't hear from Jennifer. And in some of the instances, I don't think it was appropriate for them to hear from you. Like, if you're the superintendent of schools and you have an issue in the classroom, to me, we want to reinforce, you work with your teacher, you work with the elementary principal, and then if your needs are not met with those layers, you move up. So I don't wanna make it sound like every single thing that happens, we go to Jennifer for, because I think that was a misconception. That people are like, I didn't hear from her, and it's like, well, would you hear from the superintendent of schools?
Right.
I don't think you would in a lot of cases, so.
Yeah, directly
And I
to
think
the
the same thing with
appropriate
the
person.
board, I think what Greg said is accurate. You know, we talked about at the beginning, and that was part of our training, right, is that we want problems to be solved at the place, the person closest and able to solve them on, have that information. And it is listed specifically in that contract, which I didn't pay any attention to until we spent a lot of time looking at my contract, but my contract specifically says that anything that's brought to you comes to me. And I still haven't seen any of those. And I certainly can't address concerns when those aren't shared with me. Anything that went to that BOG contact has always been brought to our chair, vice chair meeting. And we jointly, they were handed off to Dr. Berner and myself to address, or if it was something that the board felt like it was a policy or something that they had enacted or something that was a board initiative, then the chair would choose. Well, we've reviewed all of those together every month and decided who was responding to them and what the response was going to be, so that it was a partnership, we're working together on that. And that certainly didn't happen during that time period. And I can't have any ability to respond to concerns when none of them are addressed to me. That's just not a fair expectation. It's a completely fair expectation for me to handle them when I have them. But they said, Jake and I talked about that, but I never saw any of those. And I didn't even see the top of the ones unless someone happened to copy me or tell me that they had sent one. So I think that's not helpful for any of us to not talk about those things together.
I think we talk about a lot of things that changed and cultures that changed when schools were shut down and different things, the way we did business changed. And one thing that's bothers me is the culture that grew of kind of the keyboard warrior and I want to complain about stuff but not come with ideas to fix it. And I think that part of trying to meet quarterly now and check in more frequently is instead of letting maybe this stuff lay out there and then people have this big thing, you keep more frequent communication open. And I think as a board, I think something that we can work on is making sure that it's known that that communication is open and more frequently, and that it gets back to you, so you have that input. You know, something I've brought up many times, I brought it up with Jennifer, I brought it up with Ryan when we spoke also, is do we get back to the parent survey? Do we, you know, sometimes you have low turnouts on surveys. I don't know if that justifies you don't do them. We had a low turnout on lower than, not I'd like to see on the voting, but we're gonna keep voting for board members. So Ryan had a great idea, is it maybe a combination of things. It was just an idea while we're talking, but that kind of stuck with me with like a town hall format maybe that's more frequent than a once a year survey that board members can be involved with and come on in and sit down and let's talk in like, I guess, a kind of formal but informal way, so maybe it's more comfortable. Because I think I've heard a lot of people say, I want to come to the board meeting and bring up a concern or address something, and then they don't, and then they don't, and then they don't, and then, you know, whatever spurs on this time, it was not the healthiest way to get the feedback, but then here that all comes rushing in, and it's like, well, why didn't you speak up before now, and why is it an emergency now? So I don't know, thoughts on that? I mean, I think part of our job is to make sure we are engaged with the community, that they feel comfortable having regular conversation.
I thought we had decided that we were gonna send the parent survey in conjunction with parent-teacher conferences, the first parent-teacher conference that we would ask teachers to have parents complete that as part of
I worked on it over the summer, because you brought up that you looked at
Yeah, I
a
think
little
we
copy
should take another
and maybe
look
it's
at
not
it.
not applicable, or maybe it's not the best set of stuff, so. Yeah.
But that was my thing, I thought that's where we were going to, I think we'll be much better turnout, if we did it that way, because we still work really hard to get 100% of people involved in conferences, so I think that a little bit of a captive audience, saving funds. While you're here,
So I think that's a great idea.
So I think one of the biggest things that I noticed, and I expressed some frustration in that meeting, but it wasn't necessarily to you, it was kind of to the board in general. Being a new board member, this is the first board I've served on, there was no process. There's no process for what type of communication you prefer, how we're supposed to handle things. There was no direction. So you're coming in trying to figure it out. Maybe I'm a new face, somebody wants to talk to me. So how do you handle it? What's the best way to communicate with you about it? Does the board need to hear all about it? That still hasn't been addressed since I've been on the board. And I think a lot of things can be solved just by communicating. This is what I'm hearing is communication, and the communication's not great. It's probably not great on my part because I'm not telling everybody what I hear. But there's no expectation either. So that all just came to surface in that meeting. It wasn't that it was, I really realized it. And so I think we really need to do better about how we communicate to one another and what the expectation is. If we're hearing something from a parent, what do you expect? And then what's the follow-up? What do we tell them? And then I think one of the other parts and things that I didn't know, but whenever big events would happen and that wasn't communicated to us, and then we find out from parents that something happened in our school and we don't know about it, we look like idiots, and it seems like you're hiding it from us. But that wasn't how the previous board wanted you to communicate to them. That was stuff I didn't know. So then it obviously creates some type of tension for no reason. If I would have understood that from the beginning, then it would have been clear that that's how it was. And empowering you, obviously, is what we're supposed to do. So it's not that there's no trust there, but it's just not clear what we're supposed to be doing and how the communication is supposed to be.
I thought we talked pretty extensively about that at the first retreat, and then I sent out an email that detailed anytime there's a parent, here are the steps we should follow, anytime there's a complaint, if you have questions, and then we talked about it. That was an entire module we did that day, training with the trainer. So I thought we did have pretty clear, who to send things to first and where to start, and we talked about the idea at that point of if people felt like they were concerned about retaliation, ways to handle that, to either advocate for them, to come meet with them, I thought we had,
I think I'm gonna make an assumption, but I'm gonna make an assumption, Justin was saying any events that happened at the school that you handled that we didn't know about, that a parent came to us
Oh, sure.
and we had no clue, then yes, Justin said,
It's communication.
sounds like an idiot.
The other
Right, receive. Yeah, I think that's, because the other one, I think you did address, but that's the one I think he was picking up on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
So
happy
give me
to-
an example of that. So if a parent goes to the
Well,
administrators
I
and
give you an
Jennifer,
example. We got an email from the cyberbullying incident that happened with a faculty's son or daughter that was able to log on to a computer and chat from her username. That's something that was handled from the administration team that we didn't know about, and then we got the emails like, well, what is this? But there was never a direction that Jennifer was given from this board that we need to hear about that stuff, because previously it was told that we didn't know, but we didn't know that.
so
we felt,
what level of concern though, how would Jennifer know this is board appropriate and this is?
I'm not saying, Tina, that I know, I'm just saying that is an example.
It's
You were
great.
requesting
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's
Great
definitely the example
Right.
of something that would not have been, has never been shared
The-
with the board in the past.
But when we see it from the BOG contacts, everyone's like, what in the world is this? This seems like a big deal. And, I wasn't saying it wasn't handled correctly, that was just giving Tina an example.
Yeah.
But
No,
to
but that
move
is
forward
gonna
from
be
this
tough,
though,
It's not
and
something
give her guidance though,
share.
what would we want from this point forward?
Because
Do we
I think
wait
in the
until we get
past-
the email and then say fill us in on this?
I mean, I would
or-
say one starting point would be anything that has to be reported to the authorities. I mean, I guess never mind, because
There's a lot.
there's a lot. Alright, so I just spitballed that one, but I'm like,
So in
beyond maybe,
the past,
I would say that
expectation
involves
that
more
the
than
board was involved. board things, personnel levels that have risen to our lawyer being involved in consulting, those are the kind of things that the board wanted to share, if we were in a position of liability. Because those are all types of policy, right? Those are all things that the board would be involved with.
Yeah.
Discipline isn't something that the board would be involved with or have an avenue for being involved with. So I think that was sort of one of the reasons that wasn't the kind of things that they wanted to know about. It was very regularly that something like that would happen. So the other difference is that the whole board has never received contact from DOG emails before. Like I said, that was handled between the chair and the director and at our monthly meetings. That wasn't something that was, those emails never went to the whole board until that changed at COVID when we made those distributed to everyone, so we were getting a lot of things that were directly tied to the board. And so to have timely information, we changed that so the board, everyone got that. But in the past, that's never been the case. Those weren't shared with the whole board unless the chairman felt like it was something that rose to a level to share with the board. But I would say out of probably every 20 of those that they got, there was probably one that was shared with the whole board. That was just sort of practice at that time because they're day-to-day operations, which is the burden of the director, and so they were policy related, or like I said, person position of liability, those kind of things. But it was not at all unusual for someone to call or email and say, hey, I heard about this, what happened? And for us to either send out a group text or group email or have a closed session after a meeting to update on those kind of things. We had some sensitive personnel kind of things that we had closed session, sort of give you some quick updates on those kind of things. So, and we can definitely think about how we would like to address that stuff.
And maybe it's best if we just hear something, we shoot Jennifer a call, text, email, and say, hey, I just wanted a brief update on this so I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way we aren't caught off guard if it becomes a bigger issue. To that specific individual, not the school.
And I think the thing we've got to be really careful about, and I'm just being very frank, but the thing we have to be really careful about then is you can't share that information when someone asks you in the parking lot. And I think that's, you guys are being put in that position on a very regular basis. What happened with this? What followed up to this? Why was this teacher non-renewed? Why did this? You can't share any of that information. And so I think that's part of why the board has never wanted that level of information, because then it removes them from having to be in a position of, and what do I say when something like, I can't tell you that, I can't share that with you. So I think that's part of why people sometimes like to not have access
I mean,
to
we
that
were
information.
kind of like, that wasn't a policy issue, or that's an administrative issue, and it's just an easier way to say that this is our lane and this is their lane.
One of the things I was gonna add, Jennifer has to be real cautious. There's things she can't put in an email. And if it's a personnel issue or a student personnel issue, she could have an executive session and say, this is what went on. And folks, you can't go out and say to a parent, hey, this is what happened, they took care of it. You can't do that because it's a student or a student personnel issue or personnel issue. So it has to be kept very confidential. So it doesn't give you then permission to run out and say to that parent that complained to you, here's what they did. We can't do that. So we've got to be real cautious about what is said. Like I said, we can go into executive session and Jennifer can explain it, but it's not going to help you go out then to a parent and say, hey, here's how they handled that situation. It's touchy. Yeah. So even though you feel like that, yeah, I feel like I owe a parent an explanation, you can't do that.
But maybe that's where trust and community comes in too. I mean, if you develop a relationship with everyone, you can say, I can assure you that this was handled and handled appropriately, and I appreciate you bringing it forth, like.
Yep, that's all.
Hopefully without contention here, we can all
Mm-hmm.
represent that united front.
I would say the only other communication piece I would say is there was like a rash of a few of them this fall or something. And I'm struggling at figuring out it, remembering exactly what they were, but they impacted the entire student body. One, I don't think it was just the kid with the gun in their backpack. I think there was another one, but there was like 2 or 3 things in a row that constituted us closing the school down or locking down or whatever. And I feel like things like that impact the whole thing, that maybe
I mean, we should.
aside from just hearing in the general school email, like as a parent, oh, I got the parent email, but I didn't, I still didn't really know any more. And maybe I would say something that impacts the entire school, I would say definitely justifies a additional communication.
So the only thing I would say in that one, sorry to be like the.
No,
was we have to make sure that we're going through like the emergency stuff and then,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
expect to be like the first one to know.
No, right.
With all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe before the period came out, but
Right, no, I get it, yeah.
gotta solve the problem. before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you drove by the school and saw all these police cars and fire trucks, here's why.
We're not sure what's going on there.
You should get the email before they arrive though.
All right, any other comments that anybody, board members would like to make? Any specific questions, Jennifer, that you would like to ask?
I got one more before,
Okay.
if you have any questions. I think it'd be wise for all the board members to take time out of their days to schedule time with Jennifer to have coffee or lunch and just catch up one-on-one. To learn more about her, let her learn more about you, so that way the trust in the community, even on the board, is deepened as well.
Yeah, we had talked about trying to schedule those regularly, and I think that's a really good idea. I talked to Ed a little bit about, I noticed some of the things they happen here, but he meets with the city manager every week, and they have one-on-one every week. He talks about, here's what's on my mind, here's what I'm hearing, here's what I'm thinking. And I think that's the biggest sort of concern and lesson moving forward from that whole time for me is, I say this to teachers or to administrators all the time, like, Christmas Eve in kindergarten is when people appreciate being surprised, right? Like, no one wants to hear
It's so
their
perfect,
thing,
sorry.
right? Like, I heard that from people I worked for, like, that doesn't put anyone in a good position, and I definitely want to clarify what you need from me to not feel that way on your side, and like I said, I certainly never want to hear their concerns for the first time when we were talking about my contract and a meeting that I'm not there for. And I can't address anyone's concerns if we can't talk about them. So I think we probably have a much easier time doing that with regular meetings. I think that spending time would be really helpful. So I don't know if we're going to try to schedule them on a rotating basis, because I think we don't probably want to do them.
That's a lot of people for you too.
Like, I think we probably
Maybe Brad's-
do them as often, but I think even just, I like having someone rotate through on those visits, to just get to spend time with and be around. So I think any of those are great, but I definitely think that would be important. I think we don't schedule them. All of a sudden be so much really, no, we haven't talked in 5 months. So I think that would be great.
All right. Not to belabor any points, but if nobody else has any other comments, questions, me, Jennifer, anything that you would like to address?
So what's next on our calendar as far as goal setting? 'Cause I feel like,
We need to set a work session, a June work session,
Yeah.
because that's supposed to be our goal setting month for us to be doing that.
that's gonna help
So, yeah,
resolve a
definitely
lot
that
of
needs
these
to,
issues.
we do need to, that is on our thing.
I think the other thing just to keep in mind, that has also been difficult because that wasn't a thing when I arrived and it hasn't been since I've been here. The last one I can find we did was 2010-13. But those schools are schools, like, those aren't intended to necessarily be things that I have directed, saying that I directly am administering. Those are supposed to be that I'm overseeing their school and implementing our strategic plan. So, I think that, so we will talk about that tonight too. So we are gonna meet as a steering committee, so the 5th and the 7th, I believe. So it would be great if 3 of you would be willing to be on that. And then the steering committee will break after those 2 days into 3 work groups. And so it'd be great if we had at least one person, but if more of you want to join the work groups, that would be great. I don't think we should have more than 3 on the steering committee. I think that's sort of overwhelming the committee because it's already a huge committee. But then when we go to those work groups, if more of you wanted to join, and split up amongst those 3 groups, that would be great. But we're gonna start that work on the 5th and the 7th, and I think that would really help with, goal setting too, because then we all have a plan to operate from, right? It's not me or you or any of us kind of thinking, I really like this, I really like that. And that really, that's for me, a difference between being here and being other places is, that's a very clear, we all have our marching orders, we all understand where our goals and parts are and completing them, and that's been, we just haven't had that luxury, especially in the first couple of years, because our goals got dictated for us, and here's what we're gonna work on. But I do have some choice in saying that, like I said, I think that should be driven primarily from our strategic.
Well, I will be available on the 5th and the 7th.
I don't think we can have 3 of us there without making that into a board meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to post it, and that the 3 of you will be together working on strategic planning.
Who else would like to be available for those 2 days?
I will try to get it as my schedule.
I was gonna say they're all day meetings for 2 days, I know that's a huge commitment from you guys.
Me, Justin.
That's a lot.
I will try to make that work.
When you don't mind.
I can be available.
The small committee
Why
groups
don't,
won't be like
why
that.
don't we put Greg on that, just chat about it?
I mean, if
I'm
But I
here
will.
finally, just kidding.
I'll do it.
That's tentative.
All right, well, so then let's put down myself, Justin, and then Eric with a Greg contingent. And then, yeah, once we get those work groups
And they
scheduled
won't
out.
make their own meetings like that, like I said, those will be more small, I know people who each can run them.
Sounds good.
I'll send the invites.
I'll just be your backup, Eric, in case you can't be there.
Sounds good.
All right, any final comments that anybody wants? Sure. Okay. With that, if everybody can look at their calendars, for a June work session. Seems like we've had a fair amount of success. I don't know if summers are any different than anything else. We've had a fair amount of success at Fridays. So yeah, so if anybody wants to, we could do the 16th or
I won't be in attendance.
not the 16th. We could do
Sorry.
We can do a 16, we just won't be
I'm like,
successful.
I will be in Disney World, so you have fun writing some goals.
I could, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think, and we've never gone actually like all the way to June, I don't think we've gone 4 hours, so it'll be fine. That's just me though.
No, we usually done about 3.
The morning of the 23rd, the morning of the 9th. Either of those dates.
Clear as a
Anybody have a preference on those 2 dates?
Oh, actually, I take it back, the 16th is the day before I leave, I'll be gone the 17th to the 23rd.
So not the 23rd.
not the 23rd.
I was gonna say, I don't get back.
So the 16th or
So
the
I plan
9th?
to do the 9th or the 16th.
And can the new board members attend?
Sure.
We can, yeah,
Public?
absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're public. Yeah.
All right, does anybody have a preference between the 16th or the 9th?
16th.
All right, so June 16th at 8:30?
Either?
8 o'clock. June 16th at 8 o'clock. Thomas is gonna bring donuts.
I'll have donuts. You talked me into it. That was a good volunteer tribute thing.
Tentatively set that to noon.
Maybe
Yeah.
breakfast burritos instead.
Yeah,
Well,
You have to be done by 11.
Breakfast burritos.
Yeah, oh, no, that was different.
We'll tentatively set it from 8 to noon, and then if we would get out early, we would.
Okay.
8 to noon.
We'll work on an agenda for that and put it together, but that'll be our time to focus on some goals.
And then we also are, still here, Scott and Carol, and then Ryan usually sits in on those. I'll send you, some dates. We need to start picking a date, for onboarding training in June. We usually do a lunch meeting, usually works pretty well, so I don't know if there's a particular times already that you know work better for you, but I'll send out an email, just getting some info, we can get that scheduled.
Great.
Are you guys thumbs up for the June meeting on Friday? I just wanna know if I'm getting extra burritos.
It's on my calendar.
Okay. I don't want to shortchange you.
I'll plan on it.
See, we got 2 more people that can make Fridays work. It's good. Fridays don't have to go away. Awesome. All right, well, if there's no other last chance for any questions, comments, things to say. All right, then the work session is adjourned at 7:57.